Um, okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, so today I continue with basic methods of foreign risk management. Okay, so this is dealing with the transaction of import and export, right, where payments and receipt depends on the exchange rate, and the exchange rates are subject to the fluctuation. Okay, and the risk management here actually relates to the policies, techniques, or strategies that the firm may undertake or may adopt, right, to manage the risk it faces. All right, by taking measures to eliminate or to reduce the risk, right? So this is actually called that the company is hedging the risk or hedging the exposure from the uh, exchange rate fluctuations. Right. So there are many techniques can be used, right, to reduce the risk or to manage the foreign risk, right? So here are the internal hedging techniques that are currency invoice, leading and lagging, netting and matching, and then forward exchange contract and money market, right? So we go to the next one. The first one is about the currency invoice. So this is where the company arrange for the contract, right, and the invoice to be issued to be in home currency, right? So this will actually will transfer or will shift or pass all the transaction risk from the from your company, let's say from your company to other party, right? So the objective of this strategy is actually to eliminate the transaction risk by transferring the risk to the um, foreign supplier or to the foreign customer. Okay, in general, we could say that it means that, right, your company insists all the foreign customer to pay company in home currency. That means if your company is exporting goods or services to foreign countries, so that means you require your foreign customer to pay in your home currency. Okay, and vice versa. If your company pays for the import, let's say your company import goods from foreign supplier, right, and your company will pay the import in your home currency, and then that means the foreign seller will convert it into their currency, and mm, automatically the foreign supplier will bear the transaction risk. So as a result, the transaction risk, right, will be borne by the um, foreign supplier, okay, and also by foreign customer if it's an export transactions. However, the company must aware of the consequences if the company using this strategy, right, by transferring the transaction risk to another party. Okay, why is that? Because as the company pass the or transfer the transaction risk or risk to the foreign customer or foreign supplier, so it will um, make them not happy with the strategy, right? So it would um, create the negative consequences, where they will shift or will move, all right, to other sellers or other suppliers, right? Um, so here we could say that the goal of the currency invoice strategy is only achievable if the company is in the monopoly position, right, and not in the competitive market. So it's not effective if the company have the competitors in the market, right? Why? Because these foreign customer and foreign supplier, what is it, become not no longer interested to have a business with our company. Okay, and they will go to the competitors, in other words. Okay, the next one, we go to the second strategy, that are leading and lagging, right? So this is actually the strategy that can be called as the speculative strategy, and this is very risky to the traders, right? Why is that? Because it's subject to the predictions of the exchange rates movement in either direction, whether the exchange rate is predicted to decline or to appreciate, to increase, right? To appreciate or to depreciate. Okay, right. So why is that the leading and the lagging strategies here are considered as a risky strategy? Because it will not give any benefits if the prediction of the currency value um, is not correct, right? If it's not giving any benefit, if the prediction is not correct. So now we go to the leading and lagging specifically one by one. Okay, we go to leading first, right? Leading means that making a payment earlier or early, okay, in the currency that is expected to appreciate against your own currency. Okay, right. We take a simple example here. Let's say you plan to go to Singapore and you predict that the Singapore dollar will strengthen next month. Okay, um, right. Strengthen, that means the Singapore dollar is predicted to be appreciated against your own currency, okay, that is ringgit Malaysia. So then what will you do if you predict that the Singapore dollar is going to appreciate next month? So that means you, right, might change or might convert RM to Singapore dollar earlier, or maybe today or now, right? Why is that? Because if you wait until next month, that means you have to pay more ringgit Malaysia in order to get $1. So in other words, dollar become more expensive, right? Okay, so that's why you do the bidding where you will convert the ringgit Malaysia to Singapore dollar as soon as possible. Okay, and then we go to lagging, right? Lagging here means the making a payment as late as possible. So that is the company delay the payment, right? In the currency that is expected to depreciate, that is to be weakens against your own currency. So again, same example. Let's say you predict that in 1 month's time, the Singapore dollar is going to be weakened against ringgit Malaysia. That is depreciate against ringgit Malaysia. So what happened is Singapore dollar is predicted to be depreciated. That means ringgit Malaysia is going to be appreciated. So what does it mean? That means the Singapore dollar now become cheaper, right? And less ringgit Malaysia's required to convert into Singapore dollar, right? So then what would you do if you predict that Singapore dollar is going to be depreciated, right? Then you will not convert the ringgit Malaysia to Singapore dollar now, right? So you will delay the conversion, right? And then in other words, you will not change your ringgit Malaysia into Singapore dollar until the last possible moment. Or in other words, you delay the exchange until the right time, and maybe when you really need to convert into Singapore dollar. Okay, that will be better off to you. Okay, right. So then we go to the next slide. Okay, we refer to the example. Okay, all right. In this case, okay, in the example, it is stated that, right, the company, US company, right, it's a US company, import goods from the UK, and then the company here, the US company, is due to make the payment of 500,000 pounds. So the payment is 500 is in pound. Okay, so that one you have to take note. So the payment, right, by the US company is in pound sterling. to the UK supplier in 1 month's time. Okay, and then it's given that the current exchange rate, that is the spot rate, is what? For every dollar, right, it equals to 0.645 pound. Okay, so that is the current exchange rate per dollar. Then the question is, in the first situation, all right, first situation, it states that if the um, dollar is expected to appreciate. So here, if the dollar is expected to appreciate, that means the pound is expected to depreciate. Okay, right. So if the dollar is expected to appreciate by 2% in 1 month's time, and then there will be a further appreciation by 1%, okay, in the next 2 months. Okay, right. So what does it mean? Okay, if the dollar is predicted to appreciate, so that means I mentioned earlier the pound sterling is going to be depreciated, right? So that means, right, the US company is going to pay in pound, right? That is expected to depreciate, correct? So the pound is depreciating, right, in 2 months' time, right? And then there will be less dollar to be converted into pound. As the dollar become is predicted to be appreciated, that means there will be less dollar um, to be converted into pound. So it is become cheaper. Okay, if the dollar is predicted to become cheaper for the US company, right, to pay in pound. Okay, so therefore, US company should adopt lagging strategy. Why is that? Because the what? The currency, the pound currency is expected to depreciate. Okay, right. Um, the next thing here is when is it the company should pay? Is it in 1 month's time or is it in 2 months' time? So which one will be better off to the company? Okay, so look at this calculation here, right? If the dollar appreciates against sterling, so I mentioned here, this means that the dollar value of payment will be smaller in 2 months' time. So that means it is better for the company to delay the payment, right? To delay the payment, right? Therefore, it adopts lagging approach, right? That is, it will delay payment by an extra month to reduce the dollar cost. So it will delay the payment, all right, until the second month, even though the amount is due in 1 month's time. So this will give another implication with the supplier in future. But talking about lagging here, so here, so let's say if the company pay in 1 month's time, so how much dollar should be spent here for 500,000 pound? So the exchange rate currently is 0.6450 pound per dollar. So that means if it's expected to appreciate, right? So 0.6450 will multiply by 1.02, then it will be equal to 0.6579 pound. So what does it mean? You can see here, right? When the pound become depreciated, so the pounds will be um, the what? There will be more pound to be converted into $1. Okay, or for $1, right? So it becomes more expensive, right, to convert pound into dollar. But for the US company, um, there will be what? Less dollar to be converted into pound. Okay, right. And then how much dollar here? So 500,000 pound divided by the new currency or exchange rate, which is 0.6579. So the amount of dollar that is equivalent to 500,000 pound is $759,994. This is the payment that will be or should be made by the US company, okay, in 1 month's time. But what happened if this US company delay the payment until the next 2 months, right? So the next 2 months, it is also predicted that the US dollar is going to appreciate. And then that means the pound sterling is keep on depreciating, right? It's going to depreciate more by 1% here. Okay, what happened then to the exchange rate? So that means from 0.6579, it will what? Become 0.6645, where 0.6579 multiplied by 1.01. Okay, so then more pound now. Is it more pound? Yes, more pound, right? Okay, more pound to be converted into $1. Okay, right. So then what happened to the US company? So that means there will be lesser, okay, dollar amount. So 500,000 pound, you divide by this latest rate, 0.6645, and then it's equivalent to 752,000, okay, and $445. Okay, so that means there will be less dollar to be converted into a pound of right, that is equivalent to 500,000 pounds. So it becomes cheaper to the US company, right? So that's why the US company prefer to delay, to lag, all right, to delay the payment. So this is what we call lagging strategy. Okay, right, by delaying the payment by an extra month, by 1 more month, right, the US company will save 7,559 dollar. Okay, so it's a difference between this amount and this amount. Okay, right. In the next situation, what kind of strategy that William Limited will undertake, right, or implement here, if, right, in the second situation, if the dollar is going to weaken, right, if the dollar is going to weaken, that means going to depreciate against the sterling. So what does it mean? If the dollar is expected to depreciate, that means, right, the sterling is predicted or expected to appreciate, right? If the dollar appreciate against sterling, sorry, here depreciate. If the dollar um, depreciates against sterling, so what strategy and what does it mean actually? Right. So in this case, okay, I can stay here. I say here, right? Dollar depreciate. Okay, will depreciate. So thus, sterling will appreciate. Okay, so that is the meaning of this situation. If the dollar is predicted to depreciate, the sterling is sterling. Okay, right? The sterling is predicted to appreciate. Hold on now. Sterling. Okay, will appreciate. So what happen if the sterling appreciate? Okay, if the sterling appreciate, okay, that means there will be more dollar to be converted into pound. That means the US company has to pay more dollar, right, for 500,000 pound. Okay, So what should the US company do here? So that means the US company should make earlier payment, right, to avoid um, the um, increase in the um, pound sterling currency. Okay, right. So the US company is going to pay in sterling, right? That is expected to appreciate. So there will be more dollar to be converted into pound. So the company should adopt leading strategy. So the US company should pay as soon as possible. Okay. So let's say if the US company pay in 1 month's time, okay, um, so the exchange rate will become 0.6321 per dollar, right? And then the amounts of dollar to be converted into pound will be 791,014 dollar. Okay, so this is the amount that the US company has to pay when the pound sterling is expected to appreciate. Okay, what happen if the US company wait until the next month or delay the payment instead of paying earlier? So what happened? So the pound sterling, as predicted, will what uh, will appreciate, okay, further by 1%, right? As the US dollar predicted to um, depreciate further by 1%. Okay, therefore, the new exchange rate pound per dollar is 0.6258 by multiply by 0.99. Okay, right. So with this new exchange rate for the next 2 months, right? So the amounts of dollar that has to be paid for the import is what? 798,977 dollar. So you can see that there will be more dollar, right, to be converted into pound and to be used for imports. Okay, so it will make the imports more expensive if the US company pay um, in 2 months' time. So that's why the company will adopt leading strategy. Right, will try to pay as soon as possible if the pound sterling, right, is expected to appreciate. All right. Okay. All right, so this is another example, okay, for leading and lagging to test our understanding here. So let's say in this example, again, US company is importing from China, and the goods from China cost the US company 10 million renminbi, that is RMB, China currency, which is due in 3 months' time, right? And then the treasurer in the US company believed that the the exchange rate, right, of US dollar and RMB exchange rate will move from its current rate of what, 6.13 RMB per dollar to 6.08 RMB US dollar, okay, in 3 months' time. So what does it mean here from the exchange rate prediction? So that means, right, the treasurer of the US company predict that, what is it? The RMB is predicted to appreciate. Okay, right? Why appreciate? Because there is going to be less RMB currency for $1. So it becomes cheaper, right, for RMB to be converted into dollar. Alright. Okay. So since the US company will pay the import in RMB currency, so which is expected to appreciate in 3 months' time. So that means, what is it? Okay, that means there will be more dollar will be converted into RMB in 3 months' time. I think the US company has to pay more dollar, right, to pay for 10 million RMB imports. Okay, the value of the import is 10 million, right? So to pay the 10 million RMB to the China supplier, right, there will be what? um, More dollar. Okay, so then how to minimize this risk? Then the US company will adopt one of the strategy, which is what? The US company will adopt leading strategy, right? Because it will better off. That means the US company will pay as soon as possible and will pay at the current spot rate here, which is 6.13 RMB per dollar, instead of waiting until next 3 months and then make payment. If the US company wait until next 3 months and then make payment and then assume that the prediction is correct, so that means the US company will loss. Okay, right, will be at loss. Okay, now, so we have identified that the US company should adopt leading strategy. Identify the strategy that should be adopted by the US company is leading strategy. So now let's say if the US company pay now, okay, that means we'll pay at 6.13 RMB per dollar, okay, in order to eliminate the potential risk from the exchange rate. So therefore, the amount of dollar that the US company should pay for 10 million RMB equals to 1.631 $631,321. Okay, so this is the amount of dollar that should be converted into RMB to get 10 million or to pay 10 million RMB to the China supplier. So this is the leading strategy. But what happened, right? If, okay, let's say here I show you, okay, if also this one I have shown here or stated here. So what happened if the US company pay the China supplier in the next 3 months and then assume that the prediction is correct, right? Which is the RMB is what? As predicted to be appreciated, right? From 613 RMB to 608 RMB. So what happened if the US company wait until 3 months to make the payment? Then the US company has to pay in dollar 1,644,734, which is higher than this one. Okay, so that means it becomes more expensive if the US company wait until the next 3 months to pay the China supplier. So that's why the US company should adopt leading strategy. Okay, now the next issue here is, like I said earlier, so leading and lagging is actually risky. What happens if, right, the prediction is not right? That means the actual exchange rate, okay, of RMB per dollar is actually 6.15 RMB per dollar instead of 6.08 RMB. So this is the prediction, all right, the predicted currency of RMB, and this is the actual. That means, in other words, the prediction is not correct. So what happened to the US dollar? So the US dollar actually will be at lost, right? Because it's already the US dollar is actually already undertaken or adopted the leading strategy just now, right? So that means if the prediction is not correct, that means the company is actually at loss. Okay, if the company waits until 3 months time, that means the company will pay the China supplier less dollar, right, or spend less dollar for 10 million RMB. But here it's already adopted. That means the US company is at loss. Okay, right. So that's why we say here the leading and lagging is very risky. Okay, especially when the predictions of the exchange rate, right, is not correct. Okay, right. The next one, we go to netting and matching strategy, right? So actually matching is where the company has the sales transaction um, with one foreign customer and then a purchase transaction with other foreign customer. Okay, both foreign customer are in the same industry. Okay, foreign supplier. That means matching is where the company has a sale transaction with one foreign customer and then a purchase transaction with other foreign supplier. Okay, so both foreign transactions here are in the same country, and then that means they are made, the transactions are made, the sales and the purchase transactions are made using the same foreign currency. Betul? Okay, for example, let's say on the 1st November, the company received 2 million US dollar from the US customer, and then on 15 November, right, company A pays 1.9 million US dollar to the US supplier. Okay, so this is for one for export, another one for import. So the difference here, all right, the import and the exports are matched to each other, all right. So this will leave only the balance of 0.1 million dollar US dollar, right? And then this strategy will work effectively if there are many sales and purchases, right, or many export and imports, to get the benefits from matching strategies. And then you must bear, or we must aware of this one, which is it is not feasible if the transactions are separated by many months. Because for example, on the 1st January you receive 2 million US dollar from the export, but then for import you're going to make the payment somewhere in March, right, the following year, right, 1st November you receive, and then next year somewhere in March, let's say 15 March, you will make the payment to the US supplier. So there is um, a, what is it? A big gap between the receive and the payment, right? So here, uh, the benefit of matching maybe cannot be realized, right? Right. Then we go for netting. So netting is actually just more or less the same as matching. Okay, right? So there are um, this one there are two netting strategy that are bilateral netting, right, and then multilateral netting. Okay, so for bilateral netting, will be only two companies involved, right? For multilateral netting, right, it will involve more than two group companies, and then the amounts will be netted off, and then leave the net balance from the transactions, right? So we go to the example, right? Go to the example here. So the example here is about multilateral netting. So P, right, is the parent company of the group that consists of three subsidiaries that are subsidiary in Europe, subsidiary in US, and subsidiary in Canada. Okay. Right. So look at this one. And then it's mentioned that the following cash flow are due in 2 months' time between the parent company and its subsidiary. And um, required, calculate using the tabular method, alright, from format, the impact of undertaking multilateral netting by parents and its three subsidiary company for the cash flow due in 2 months. Right, so how are we going to show the implications from the netting strategy here? Okay, so look at this one. Okay, the what? The foreign currency must be converted into the parent's currency, which is pound in this case. Right. So note that all foreign currency amount have to be translated into pound using the given matrix. Okay, so let's go for the first one, which is the amount owed by P, right, to S, and the amounts owed by P to S is 3 million dollar Canada. Okay, so this $3 million Canada, okay, actually must be converted into pound. Okay, so who pay who? That means who made the payment, right? So that is the parent will pay to S is what? Canada. So parent company will make the payment to Canada. Parent company will make the payment to US subsidiary. So look at how are we going to show it in the table. Right. So here the parents make the payment paid to. So this is the column for the receipts. So this is the column for the payment. Okay, so P paid to S just now, right? Which is Canada. So how much in pound? 3 million you divide by Canada's exchange rate to against pound is 1.5. That is 3 million divided by 1.5. Then P will pay to Canada 2 million pound. P will pay to R. R is US. Okay, and how much? 5 million dollar US dollar. Okay, and then 5 million you divide by 1.6 to convert into pound. So this is the exchange rates of US against pound. Then how much the parents pay to US subsidiary? So it is what? 3.125. So that means um, um, P will pay to S, P will pay to R. Okay, and then you continue with other transactions. And then you just put into the table. Right now, we want to total up the amounts, right, received by parents is 7.083 million pound. Okay, so you do it horizontally. So this is the amount that P received. And then this is the amount that the subsidiary in Q is in what country? In Europe. So this is the amount that is received by the subsidiary in Europe, right? And we do it horizontally. But if you do it vertically, right, for P from top to bottom here, right, from this from this row to this row, right, then you will get 5.125. So that is the payment. So this is the total payment made by P to each subsidiary. So you total up the payment and then you compare to the receipts, okay, of each subsidiary accordingly. Then you get the net. So they are netted off, okay, and then you get the net balance. Okay, right. Okay, next, here we can see another example. Okay, netting receipts and payment here. C and D are respectively South African and US based subsidiaries of the UK holding company. Okay, so if C owed D 300,000 pound and D owed C, yes, C hutang dengan D dan D kena bayar D 300,000 pound, and then right, At that time, at the same time, B owed to C pula amounting £220,000. So you compare to this between these two figures and the company in the two companies, right? Two intercompany balances can be netted off, right? You compare or you net it off, and then it will leave the net debt owed by C of £80,000 because C owe more than D. Okay, right? Okay. So this is what I mentioned about matching, right? Okay, matching objective is to reduce the exposure to currency risk. Right? When the company has received and payments in the same foreign currency due to at the same time, it can simply match them against each other. So this is similar to example that I gave you earlier. Right? It is then only necessary to deal on the foreign exchange market for the unmatched portion of the total transaction. So the terms netting and matching are often used interchangeably, maknanya it's just the same, right? But strictly speaking, they are different. Okay, all right. Okay, this is the example. Okay, netting and matching. So this one, let's say a Malaysian company will receive 20 million in 4 weeks and must pay out 18 million in 5 weeks, right? So the difference is only 1 week, right? So exchange rate, transaction risk, right, is substantially eliminated by opening a US dollar bank account. Okay, the company open the bank account, okay, and then using the receipts of 20 million US dollar to pay the 18 million. So it will reduce the transaction cost. Okay, so it works best if there are many inflow and outflow into the bank account and out of bank account. That means receipt and payments, multiple receipts and payment lah. Okay. Okay, so to give the opportunity for matching, that is to reduce the risk. Okay, right. So this is about forward exchange contract. So I think I stop until here, right? And thank you, class. Assalamualaikum.